In the 1990s, Enron was the company to work for in Houston. It encouraged creative thinking, it offered huge rewards and opportunities for advancement. Most of all, it gave employees a sense that they were changing the world for the better by unlocking the power of the free market. Former Enron Energy Services employee Ravi Katuria remembers.
Every day there was something new happening, there was a new challenge, there was new ground to be broken.
Every Enron employee received one of these booklets stressing the company's core values of respect, integrity, communication, and excellence. The company hammered the message home with videos that ran on screens throughout its headquarters.
Enron is a company that deals with everyone with absolute integrity. We play by all of the rules. We stand by our word. We mean what we say what we mean.
This wasn't just high-mindedness. Enron was a trading company. If people couldn't trust its word, the credit that business depended on would dry up. But Enron also depended on constant growth. That led to an overwhelming emphasis on closing deals. Former Human Resources Chief Cindy Olson describes how Enron's compensation system reinforced that.
We gave everyone a lot of options because everybody was doing it in the tech world, on Wall Street. What we didn't realize is the motive that it gave people to do pretty much anything to keep our stock price up.
It also meant that people who stood in the way of closing deals got short shrift. Stephen Webster describes an incident that took place just before he left the company in 1999.
I had been in a meeting, one of my last meetings as an employee at Enron, discussing one of the projects we were doing internationally, and one of my colleagues just didn't agree with the approach that we were taking to the project. And my boss at that time literally picked up a chair and threw it across the room at him.
Inevitably, some of those deals proved huge money losers. That put the company's stated values and its high-growth culture on a collision course. Stephen Arbogast teaches business ethics at the University of Houston's Bauer College of Business. He says Enron failed a key test of its integrity as early as 1987, when a rogue trading scandal in the company's Valhalla, New York office nearly drove the company into bankruptcy.
They failed to investigate the scandal accurately, and then when it materialized in even worse form than they ever imagined, they responded to it by getting rid of their internal audit function and outsourcing it to Arthur Andersen. That speaks volumes about Enron's top management attitude on financial control from the get-go.
Rather than own up to its losses, Enron applied its creativity to accounting gimmicks that descended into outright fraud. Tomorrow night, we look at the consequences for Enron's employees. Andrew Schneider, Nightly Business Report, Houston. December 3rd, 2001 was a warm, muggy day in Houston. 4,000 Enron employees arrived at work to find the air conditioning had been turned off. Floor by floor, they were told the company was bankrupt, then given 30 minutes to pack up their belongings and leave the building. Houston was already in a recession. Enron's collapse made it worse, as Richard Rathman explains.
The energy industry had kind of collapsed here. Dynegy collapsed, as well as the energy market itself. So a lot of people struggled. A lot of people struggled to find work in their same field. So a lot of people needed to make changes.
The experience left many former employees with a jaded view not just of Enron itself, but also of Enron's basic philosophy, the belief in the inherent goodness of free markets with minimal regulation. Max Eberts is one of them.
You have an industry that was not regulated, and as a result, it was free to run amok. One would hope that there would have been a great lesson learned by the recent financial markets, but yet there are people out there that believe that the markets are better suited to regulate themselves. I disagree completely, and Enron taught me that.
The word Enron on a resume proved a scarlet E for many looking for new jobs. Workers who were close to retirement were among the hardest hit, but the stigma didn't last forever. Phyllis Anzalone was one of the pioneers of Enron's retail electricity business.
If you were young enough to be in a position where you could rebuild your career, there were many, many places you could go. I find it kind of entertaining to run into ex-Enroners everywhere I go within the energy industry. It's kind of neat. They're everywhere.
Enron also turned out to be a perfect training ground for entrepreneurs. Ravi Katuria is one of many Enron alumni who struck out on his own.
Enron disappeared. It was a stigma for Houston, and yet now the people who left Enron have spawned so many businesses. There are other companies, and they're doing quite well because the one thing that Enron taught you was dealing with change.
There are still signs of Enron's presence all over the Houston landscape. One of the most visible is the former Enron field, now Minute Maid Park. Ken Lay galvanized Houston's business community to build the baseball stadium with the twin goals of keeping the Astros in Houston and revitalizing the city's downtown. He succeeded in both.
One of the key lessons that I took from Enron is the difference between passion and obsession. We all need to have passion. There were a lot of passionate people at Enron. Unfortunately, a small group of them became obsessed with financial performance and led the company to its downfall.
The Tilted E behind me once graced the lobby of Enron's headquarters. It now stands in the lobby of a microcash computer store off Houston's Gulf Freeway. Like all of Enron's physical assets, it was auctioned off to help pay the company's debts. A humbling end to a business that once aimed to become the greatest company in the world. Andrew Schneider, Nightly Business Report, Houston.